going to give a presentation on, and Nick also as well, yeah, thanks very much, on Pathways, which is a new system for Toastmasters. And when Tariq said something he worked hard towards, it was many challenges, sporting-wise marathons, the London Brighton bike ride, or evening learning to face fast boulders without flinching and getting hit by a 70-mile-per-hour missile from you.
Right, good evening everyone. My name is Nick. I'm the Pathways Ambassador for Area 34, which this club is a member of. I didn't give Alec what I was proud of and whether it was worth it. If I could think about it now, it would probably be doing my PhD. That was hard work, and no, it definitely wasn't worth it. But I'm here with Tariq to introduce Pathways, which is our new education program. Just before I get into it, how many guests do we have in the room? Okay, quite a few guests. So just to give you some context, because this might be a bit confusing, as Tariq mentioned, we have an education program composed of these two manuals, which is designed to help us develop the skills that we are here at Toastmasters to learn. And Toastmasters International is updating that education program with the thing that they call Pathways. Cool. So let's jump straight in with a video. And this is from, this captures current members' experiences of Pathways, because it has rolled out in some districts before coming to ours. So you get a flavour of some of their opinions on Pathways so far.
What I like best about Pathways is the fact that it's much more customized to what you may want to get out of Toastmasters, what your goals are. It's basically Toastmasters updated.
The base camp is like having a personal coach. It guides you through the journey of Pathways and tells you the next steps.
One of the things I liked about base camp is that I can tell where I am in my journey and continue at the next step. I know exactly where I am.
I've used it on a computer, I've used it on a tablet, I've used it on a phone.
It's really cool that we're able to go on to Basecamp and take a quiz that determines what path best suits our needs.
One of the most surprising things about the assessment is that it gave me more awareness about what exactly I was looking for.
The questions were very introspective.
And the assessment was very intuitive. Taking the assessment helped me really put a finger on my goals.
These paths are going to aid me in a more specific way than the previous programs did.
The path that I chose really gave me the step-to-step roadmap into achieving my goals.
There are 10 different paths. It's amazing how much opportunity there is for the future.
Pathways has led me to a whole new level.
I'm really appreciative that Toastmasters has this new, exciting format. After decades of having an old format, we are now up to date and we can determine which path best suits the individual.
Great. So there might be some things in there that you're wondering, what's this assessment? What are these paths, etc.? Hopefully Tariq and I will cover that in the presentation. If not, we'll leave some time for questions at the end, right? So anything that's not clear, please feel free to ask us at the end. Okay, this is Ralph Smedley, who founded Toastmasters, and he believed that communication was central to everything that we do, really, but particularly in terms of leadership. And that's why he founded Toastmasters, to give people an opportunity to practice this key skill that he thought was very important to life, and we still have it today. But it's been through a few changes. So this is one of the first manuals that was introduced in the 1940s. We've then got these two in the middle, which are the ones that Tariq held up, which we still have today, but those were introduced in the 1970s. And by and large, the program hasn't really changed, apart from we've added some manuals as things have progressed in Toastmasters. So these two manuals represent the two key tracks of the current program. You've got communication, so that's the first manual is competent communicator, and you've got leadership, and the first manual is competent leadership. So do you guys want to have a guess? What percentage of members currently complete the competent communicator manual? This is the first manual in your Toastmasters journey. Less than 10%. Less than 10%. Okay. 20?
More than 10%.
It's actually just under 10%. So yeah, less than 10% of people currently complete the Competent Communicator Manual. All right, have a guess for the Competent Leaders Manual. Uh-oh. Yeah, it's just under, I think it's like 1.98%. So less than 2% of people complete that first leadership-orientated manual. So this is part of the reason why Toastmasters decided to overhaul things, right? Because clearly, if people aren't progressing through the current program, there's something that we could do better, and Pathways is the attempt at doing that. Key thing about Pathways is Ralph Smedley's idea that we learn in moments of enjoyment. So if we can make Pathways fun, then people will learn, they'll progress through it, and then hopefully some of those statistics will go up. These are some of the things that the board wanted to see in Pathways. So high value means that it relates to our needs and our everyday lives, and hopefully more people see that and move through the program and get more out of it. Fun, as we said, the idea is you learn more if you're having fun. It's customized to your needs. So right now, if you join Toastmasters, you have to start with these two manuals. Whereas with Pathways, you get a choice of what you want to work on based on what areas are important to you. It's flexible, so you can go as quickly or as slowly as you want. You can do as many paths as you want. You can do it offline with printed materials, like what we've currently got, or you can do it digitally through Basecamp. It's competency-based, so there's over 300 competencies that you can work towards in Pathways. And the idea, again, is if we've got areas that we want to develop coming to Toastmasters, then Toastmasters should directly relate to those. So everything that you do in Pathways is directly related to a competency. It's resource-rich. There are tons of guides, videos, templates, etc., to support people through the journey. And Toastmasters has focused particularly on evaluations in Pathways, because that's a really important part of development, and also I think one of the areas where the current program is lacking a little bit. As I said, flexibility was a really key concern for the Toastmasters board. So just to highlight a bit more about this, as I've already said, you choose what you want to work on. You can work on one path, you can work on two paths, as many as you want, and you can move as fast or as slow as you would like to. You get to choose. So the assessment that we heard about in the video is the first thing that you do when you log into Basecamp, and based on your answers, it will suggest a path for you. You can start with that if you want. If you want to do something else, you can also do something else. Greater access to materials. So currently when you join, you have to wait for these manuals to get delivered to you, which sometimes takes a while. And it's difficult to access the other materials sort of further on in the journey. With Basecamp, everything is online. It's much easier for you to access. And that's linked to the expanded resources bit, which again, videos, guides, templates, etc. And the idea was to try and make everything as directly related to the real world as possible. So in Pathways, with the new projects that are out there, you will have to do things outside of the Toastmasters meeting space and come back and report on them in Toastmasters. So again, it's helping us with the real world applicability. Got another video. This one just introduces some of the core concepts in Pathways.
Welcome to the Toastmasters Pathways learning experience, an exciting, flexible, and interactive way to develop your skills and help others in your club develop theirs. Building on Dr. Smedley's original vision and Toastmasters' core competencies, Pathways upholds the club experience while offering new, revitalized educational content that helps you learn communication and leadership skills that address real-world scenarios. Pathways expands on the current education and leadership tracks by offering more than 300 competencies across 59 projects. These projects are divided into 10 specialized learning paths that allow you to tailor your experience to fit your needs and your pace. All of this content is available online, allowing you to learn anytime, anywhere, from your computer, laptop, or tablet through Basecamp. Basecamp is the place where you'll find all of the materials for your learning experience, along with tools for your journey. In Basecamp, you'll be able to share feedback with fellow club members, view badges you've earned, access and save digital speech evaluations, and more. When you first begin Pathways, you'll take an online assessment that will recommend the path that's right for you. You'll be able to access your path from your education transcript in Basecamp, where you can view and complete projects. New elective projects, such as write a compelling blog and manage projects successfully, allow you to tailor your learning to meet your interests. Projects in Basecamp include a variety of interactive elements, including questionnaires, quizzes, menus, and expandable content. Educational videos model skills and provide demonstrations of the concepts you are learning. For example, Prepare for an Interview shows effective and ineffective interview techniques. Introduction to Toastmasters Mentoring demonstrates the difference between coaching and mentoring. And Manage Online Meetings provides the best practices and strategies for holding a webinar or another type of online meeting. As you can see, Pathways represents an exciting paradigm shift that brings with it many new learning opportunities. What's more, Pathways will feel familiar to you because it maintains the things you love about Toastmasters, including your club experience. Pathways is coming to your club soon. Visit toastmasters.org/pathways to learn more.
Okay, so hopefully you're getting a better understanding of what Pathways is and the additional benefits that it's bringing to the Toastmasters experience and why you want to get involved. But let's jump into some specifics to really kind of give you some details of what is happening. So these are the 5 key competencies that Toastmasters believes you develop here. So public speaking, interpersonal communication, strategic leadership, management, and confidence. The idea is that the first 4 you can develop actively. Confidence you don't develop, you just practice. And that comes with experience. But then these 5 key competencies are mapped onto the paths in Pathways. So we've got 10 paths that relate to different areas where you might want to develop. So for example, dynamic leadership, effective coaching, etc., etc. And you can see how the 5 competencies map on to the different paths. So for example, if you wanted to work on confidence, you would well, actually, they all involve confidence. If you wanted to work on, let's say, interpersonal communication, you would focus on a path that has interpersonal communication at its core. So, again, depending on your needs, you can pick a path that is right for you. So there's 10 paths, and once you've selected a path, within the path, there are 5 levels. And the idea is you start at the beginning with the fundamentals, and then you work your way up to demonstrating expertise, which is level 5. So level 1, regardless of which path you choose, has these 3 projects. So you deliver an icebreaker, evaluation of feedback, researching, and presenting. These are the 3 projects that you will do level 1 no matter what path you choose. Then moving forward from levels 2 to 5, depending on the path, you have different kind of key requirements, but then also elective projects that you can do. So it might say like choose 2 elective projects for you to do, and again you can tailor based on what things are most relevant to you. So again, as you're moving through, you really get to build the path that you want to do. So somebody else might be doing the same path that you're on, but be doing totally different projects and having a totally different experience. Does that kind of make sense? Okay, great. There are 59 different projects across the 10 paths. So here are some of the examples. The icebreaker, you'll recognize evaluation and feedback, you'll recognize lead in any situation, prepare to mentor, which we have a mentoring program in the current education program, successful collaboration, and cross-cultural understanding. And these projects are currently available in the languages on the right, but they're also thinking about new languages to translate the projects into. And they're also thinking about new projects to add as well, so it's not going to stay at 59 projects, there's more projects coming. Great. Another thing that Toastmasters wanted to do with the new program is really add more incentives and recognition for the progress that we start making. So that's where badges and awards comes in. So up on the top you'll see the badges that you get as you move through the levels on the paths. And those are given by the club, but also members of the club can log on to Basecamp, the online system, and give members other badges depending on their progress. Right? So it becomes a bit more personal to your club, but also recognition should come much more frequently. Because currently you get an award at the end of the manuals, which might take God knows how long to complete, whereas now you hopefully would be getting one in a matter of weeks rather than years. So that's another thing that Toastmasters have introduced to try and help people move through the program. Evaluations, as I said, is another key area that Pathways is bolstering up. So there's these detailed evaluation forms for evaluators now. So this kind of stuff we have, the purpose statements and general notes for the evaluator. But now there's much more detailed guidance on specific criteria related to each project. So if you have vocal variety, you get a description and a 5-point scale. And then the 5-point scale is broken down, explaining exactly what each number corresponds to. Right? So everybody should be very clear on what they're being evaluated against, but also the evaluator should really have no problem in being able to pinpoint what the speaker has done well and what they might need to work on. Yeah? And there's also just a general comments box as well, if there's anything that falls outside of the rating structure. So that was evaluations. The mentorship remains a core part of Toastmasters, as it is in the current program. You have to complete level 1 of your first path before you can go on to the mentors program. So that's accessible from level 2 and onwards. And these are the projects related to mentoring. And you get a badge when you become a mentor. I think, yeah, that's everything from me. So I'll hand over to Tariq, who'll take you through some of the logistics with Pathways.
Thank you, Nick, for that excellent introduction to Pathways. Raise your hands if you've actually been on Toastmasters.org. If you remember, you've been, okay, quite a few of you, which is quite, because from 20th of March, you're not going to be able to avoid that anymore. Because 20th of March is when Pathways rolls out in our district. And you'll get an email from Toastmasters, and if you follow the links in the email, eventually, once you've logged in, you'll land at this page with 3 main buttons on it. So what are these 3 main items all about? The navigator, access my path through Basecamp, and choose your path. Well, the navigator is your must-read guide to the system. It's the most comprehensive guide for new members that's been produced by Toastmasters. That walks you through Pathways. It describes meeting roles, it describes club committee roles, etc. So it's your must-read guide that you should read. You can read it online, you can download it from the system, or you can order hard copies from Toastmasters International. Once you've done that, then it's choose your path. As Nick described earlier, you have the choice of accessing your resources online or in the traditional printed material. Your first path that you can access online is free. In printed format, if you want it, it's an additional $25. And you need to complete 2 paths to work towards your distinguished Toastmaster certification. So how do you do your assessment? How do you decide? You had the videos describing the assessment forms. So I'm sure all of you are familiar with things like Match.com or eHarmony or Tinder even. There's a very simple assessment form which takes you through your likes, your dislikes, what turns you on, what turns you off. And then eventually, once you've completed that online assessment, the system will recommend 3 paths for you. In this hypothetical example, it's mentioned dynamic leadership, it's mentioned persuasive influence, and effective coaching. And you have some information on each of those. But if you don't like what you see, instead of swiping left or right, you can swipe down and read about the other 7 paths that are available to you. And again, if you press on the buttons, you'll get further information on each of those paths. Once you've done that, choose your path. And assuming that you decided to go down access your path online route, this is where you access all your education materials. If you're a member of more than one club, you can select which club you're logging in for in that particular session. So this is where all your education transcripts, your videos, your downloadable resources will reside. Your evaluations, you'll be able to upload your evaluations here and keep them safe. Raise your hands if you actually brought your CC manual or your competent leadership manual with you. 2 people, 3 people. Wow, that's very good. That's out of 30 or so people in this room. So in that sense, it's not a very good ratio. Here, once you get evaluated, you can keep them safe. And they'll be available to you online wherever you are. So no more losing your manuals and having to wait, as Nick said, several months before you get your manuals, etc. So once Pathways launches, you'll have 2 years from the date of the last rollout, which is expected to be summer of this year. So you'll have until about June of 2020 to complete whichever education track you're on. So whether it's the CC manual, Competent Communicator, or for any of the other ones like the Distinguished Toastmaster, you have 2 years to complete those if you so choose. Or you can decide to start on Basecamp straight away or work those 2 different tracks concurrently. But after 2020, your traditional education program will not be available. And for new members, anybody who's joining Toastmasters after the 20th of March, they will not have access to the CC manual. They will only have Basecamp available to them, Pathways available to them. So when you get your email, read the guide. That'll get you more familiar with the system. So how does Pathways change your meeting experience? Your meetings will remain the same. Your speeches will still be 5 to 7 minutes long. Your evaluations will still be there, and anything else that your current meetings around, like table topics, etc., they all remain the same. So your key experience, fundamental experience of Toastmasters remain the same. So you will still have the supportive environment where you can practice and learn your style and develop it. You'll still be able to give speeches as you have done. But what is changing is that the Pathways is going to turbocharge a lot of the resources that are available. So, your recognition we talked about, the evaluations, and members awarding badges to each other, that's been built in. The feedback from club members. Your recognition is going to be that much more frequent. As is the case now, you might be on the CC manual for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years before you get a certificate until you've completed all the 10 projects, which could take a while. Here, you will get certification at each level once you complete it. So you'll be able to gauge and measure your progress as you that much more frequently. As Nick pointed out, currently there are about 68 competencies that you learn. In Pathways, there are more than 300 already. So things like the videos we're talking about, doing video conferencing, doing web blogging, online seminars, etc. Those things were not available in the 1970s when the CC manual was first formulated. These have been brought in, and Toastmasters education program has been brought up to 2018. And last but not least, instead of having one shoe fits all, so you have only the 10 projects here that everybody has to go through. In Pathways, you have the 10 programs, and within each program, you have electives after level 2. So you can tailor-make the learning experience to suit your needs. So whether it's for education, whether it's at work, whether you want to get promotion, you can tailor-make the projects to suit your needs to achieve your goals. So that is a major, major change. So how does Pathways affect the Distinguished Club Program? Distinguished Club Program, for those of you who may not be aware, is a quality control mechanism that is used by Toastmasters to maintain quality at the club. And it's also a competitive tool. So we can say, King's Cross speakers, we are better than X, Y, and Z club because we achieved so many DCP points in that particular year. And you can see on the banners, some of them are hanging up there. So over the next 2 years, we can select which education target that we go for, whether it's the two people completing the Confident Communicator manual, or for level 1s, etc. as you work down to distinguished Toastmasters and advanced leaders, etc. and one level 5. So over the next 2 years, so seamlessly and effortlessly, we'll be able to transition over from the traditional education program to pathways. Each club has been provided with this a starter pack, which will reside in our kit bag from now on. And this contains a hard copy of the Navigator, some quick start cards which we can hand out later. They'll guide you, for people that have difficulty with online systems, as I know some of you have had in the last few days and a few weeks in logging in. So here's a quick start guide that you can keep as a reference material for you. And there's a flash drive with additional resources and videos, and these little dinky, very American things that we will award. Got it here somewhere. That we can award to first 3 people that take on pathways. So look out for the first badge in our club meeting next time. So when you log in for the first time, the system will take you through navigating Basecamp, which is a tour of the website. So you'll get familiar with what's available where. And on Basecamp, there are videos, education material, downloadable resources that you can access, and videos organized by subject matter, etc. So how to do this, or how to do that, what do I need to do this, and get that done. So that's it's going to walk you through the system. What the system will also do when you log in for the first time is to check compatibility of the computer equipment you're using, to make sure that you can load up the educational materials from the website. So one thing it will ask you to do is to disable your pop-up blockers, because to launch the educational videos, you will need to disable the pop-up blockers for that particular for Toastmasters.org website. Right, we have plenty of time for any Q&A. Nick, if you want to also come here, we can handle any queries of fire. Kieran.
Hi, Tariq. In terms of, well, 2 things. I noticed that on the way that it will improve the post-meeting experience, it's going to allow you to upload your feedback online for speeches. How does that process happen?
Right. Then Nick walked you through the 3-page form. That 3-page form is a PDF that you can download. If you're the evaluator, you can download it from the website for that particular speech, or the person who's delivering the speech can download it, print it off, and give it to you.
Right.
So you have the option of doing it in hard copy style, writing and scoring on it,
yeah,
and handing it over to the speaker. They can then scan it, photograph it, upload it to the system.
Okay.
Or if you do it online,
yeah,
you can save it and just send it automatically to the person you're evaluating.
Okay. Sorry, I missed that part.
No problem.
Secondly, is this going to be rolled out as a app at any point?
The videos, the people on the videos talked about accessing it on mobile phones, accessing it on tablets. It's a website-based website that you access rather than an app.
Okay.
Just to come back on the evaluation bit as well, so that's the formal evaluation, but also any member or any person in the meeting can log on and access your speech and provide feedback. I think they can also do it anonymously as well, so that kind of replaces or supplements the little slips where you write feedback on, so you don't have to worry about losing those, etc. Thank you. Okay.
Can you take some of your progress so far and transition it over pathways?
No, the two programs are completely separate. So any unused manuals, any unused credits for whatever project you completed will not transfer over to pathways from the traditional program.
Will we still stay on sort of speech 3 or speech 4?
Well, level 1 in all of the parts. It starts off with the icebreaker, researching and evaluating, presenting. So those things are familiar or similar to your start of your CC manual.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they're not exactly the same.
So does that mean that people who have gone to like level 4 have to start over now at level 1? I think that was what you were at. So people lose all of their progress to go to pathways.
No, you learn skills. You're not losing the skills.
But you're losing the recognition for it.
Only if you completed that, you don't get a recognition for it until you've done completed all 10 projects. So anything you can complete. So your skills are still there. The confidence you developed in getting to those 3 or 4 speeches is still there.
So if you've completed the CC award, for example, you still keep that. It just doesn't buy you any kind of like shortcuts and pathways, if that makes sense. But yeah, if you're on speech 4 out of 10, you can choose to finish CC. So you've got 2.5 years to finish that, or you can choose to jump straight into pathways and get cracking on the new stuff. And I mean, as Tariq said, right, like we're here not to collect the awards and bits of paper, right? We're here to develop our public speaking. So, don't think of it as lost progress. The real progress is still there. It's just how we measure it that's changing, if you like.
So, what would be the criteria for judging and for contestants doing speeches contests?
At the moment, to do the speeches in the international speech contest, you need to do 6 speeches. In pathways, you need to complete level 1 and level 2. Then you can qualify for the international speech contest. And if you have a look at the latest competition manual guide, that's already built in there. Any further questions?
Do the fees change?
Fees, no, the fees stay the same. So what we pay on your behalf to Toastmasters, that remains the same. So and whatever the club charges for its premises, etc., that's an entirely separate issue. And we'll come back to that at the end as well.
Quick question. The videos is accessible for everyone in the community then to give feedback to?
Well, sorry,
so the speech is recorded, is that right?
No, this is just for today.
Oh, I see.
So, some clubs do record their speeches, etc. Right, we have another couple of minutes for questions before Kushal gives me the red signal. Are we all done? You're reaching in the back to ask a question.
Is there any benefit to sign up before the 20th of March?
The only benefit theoretically is that you still have access for the next 3 weeks to these 2 manuals. But it takes 2 months, 3 months to get these manuals, so, so it is very theoretical. But if you do sign up before the 20th of March, you can still start on this and you can still complete these, if you so choose. But you might find that you go on Basecamp because you love it so much.
And what about the people that, let's say your membership ends in March and then I want to renew in 3 months' time, do I need to then jump on the new program or can I still complete the...
So any people who've already joined Toastmasters as members and you're on their system, even though you might take a 6-month gap or 6-month sabbatical to go to work or whatever, Toastmasters are going being kind enough to let you come back and continue your education program for the next 2 years until June of 2020, as I said, when the support for the traditional education program will finish. Okay, I think we're done. Thank you very much. Right, so in conclusion, this is a very exciting time for Toastmasters and Toastmasters International Organization. This is a once-in-a-generation paradigm shift in the education program, which will serve Toastmasters for decades to come. So I wish you all the luck in your Toastmaster journey. Thank you very much.